heard of the birthers and the truthers, the tenthers and the nullifiers, and even the Fockers. But now it's time to meet the Simpson Bowlsers. Over the past few years, we've heard a lot of crackpot ideas. First, there was Donald Trump and his jolly gang of birthers, who to this day claim that President Obama was born in Kenya or someplace, not the Americas, not the United States. Then came the Koch brothers-funded climate change deniers, who, despite record temperatures and unprecedented superstorms, insist that man-made climate change is still debatable. You know, like many of those exact same people said about cigarettes not causing cancer. Finally, we have the tenthers and the nullifiers, like Rick Perry, who want to ignore federal laws that they don't like. But none of these outlandish and nonsensical ideas are as dangerous and destructive as the new Simpson Bowles Cat Food Plan 2.0. Yesterday, the pair introduced a rebooted, or shall we say rebaked, version of the original Simpson Bowles Cat Food Commission idiocy. That original plan, you'll remember, was so bad that their own commission members would not vote for it. Yes, there was no official commission report. Unfortunately, the media is still in love with these irrelevant hustlers and their crazy ideas, which makes understanding the absurdity of the Simpson Bowles 2.0 cat food plan all the harder. But let's give it a try. In the original Simpson Bowles Cat Food Commission plan, on the left here, the pair sought a whopping $2.9 trillion in budget cuts, combined with $2.6 trillion in revenues, fancy word that mostly describes increasing taxes or cutting tax loopholes. Under the new Simpson Bowles Cat Food Plan 2.0, pie chart on the right, this pair of crackpots is now seeking $1.2 trillion in revenue savings, meaning they've jacked up budget cuts this time to a staggering $3.8 trillion. While the original cat food plan had roughly 1-to-1 spending to cuts, the new plan is 3-to-1. Simpson Bowles Cat Food Plan 2.0 calls for $2.4 trillion in new savings over the next 10 years through serious tax and entitlement reforms and cutting additional spending. So what are the exact devastating cuts and reforms that Simpson and Bowles want to make in federal government spending? First, they want to reduce Medicare and Medicaid spending, meaning fewer and fewer elderly Americans and poor Americans will have access to health care and medication. Next, Simpson and Bowles want to enact comprehensive pro-growth tax reform, which is just a fancy way of saying we want to give corporations even more corporate tax breaks while jacking up taxes on working people. Of the $2.4 trillion in new savings that the Simpson Bowles Cat Food Plan 2.0 calls for, nearly $800 billion of it comes from so-called tax reform. Finally, these washed-up corporate shills want to strengthen limits on discretionary spending and reduce non-health mandatory spending, which means cuts to things like Social Security, higher education, and farm subsidies, just to name a few. In other words, let them eat cat food. The bottom line here is the Simpson Bowles Cat Food Plan 2.0, much like its predecessor, is entirely about helping out corporate America and the billionaires who run it and screwing over the rest of us. Along with the so-called pro-growth tax reforms come these so-called entitlement reforms, which basically argue we must abandon elderly, disabled, and poor Americans if we want to save the American economy. The only people who are happy with Simpson Bowles' new Cat Food Plan 2.0 are their corporate and fat cat buddies. Although the millionaires on TV won't tell you this, the fact is that working-class Americans need to see through all the smoke and mirrors and past the media circus and realize that, much like the birthers and the truthers, the Simpson Bowlers are just completely off their rockers. No country in the history of the world has ever cut its way to prosperity, and whether Simpson and Bowles like it or not, America isn't going to either. So let's roll Grandpa Simpson and Grandpa Bowles back to the old folks' home where they can't do any more damage to our economy and our country, and leave the cat food for the cats. And that's the way it is tonight, Wednesday, February 20th, 2013. And don't forget, democracy begins with you. Get out there, get active, tag, you're it.